It's time for our trader chat with Johnny Ward and Flynn Goward. We have finally had the winner of the Star Sports Greyhound Derby. What a night if you were in Toaster. Abbott, Tribute Acts, Ben Keith, Lofty, all the works. Ian Fortune running away with the Naps competition as well. The great man with a big prize winner. Lots happening in Toaster. I was at the Irish Derby at the Curragh. Hell of a lot to talk about there as well. The idea that the Derby would be brought back to 10 furlongs was one of the things that people were talking about, which would clash with the Eclipse, of course, a 10 furlong event that is taking place next Saturday. And we're going to have a chat about that because we have a very interesting market, a horse supplemented now making the market, and a hell of a lot more besides. Let's start with the Greyhound Derby, Flynn Goward. I know you're not a massive doggy man, but what was the crack like in Toaster? It looked like a great night was had by all. How was the night, and how was Ben Keith, more to the point?
Ben was in great form. It's probably his favourite night of the year. I wouldn't go as far as it's my least favourite night of the year because I do love seeing the punters and I do enjoy doing something a little bit different. But just in terms of the job running the on-course side of things, Lofty tends to look after the dogs, but it's a pretty high maintenance evening. You do 5 pitches, you do one up in the restaurant, one up in the box, and then you do 3 pitches scattered around. So in terms of the amount of equipment, the amount of staff and all that type of gear, it is a pretty long day. Midday and leaving at 11 at night. But
yeah, has the Derby become a bit of a thing now at Toaster? Like, what's the atmosphere like there?
Very good, actually. Fantastic atmosphere. Typically, when you look at the track, you think it's not going to be great because the track's quite far away from where you actually stand. Because the horse racing track, with obviously where that used to be, is this side, and then the ground track is further into the middle. But you get fantastic viewing up in the grandstands because you get a view of the whole track. It is a very, very good viewing track. And just good facilities there in terms of space. They probably need to do up a few things, but in terms of the space at Toaster is absolutely fantastic. Obviously built for a horse racing track, they can run lots of events there, and it works really, really well. Very busy across the pitches on finals night. I've never really seen anything like it on the main pitch. It would rival a day at Cheltenham or a day at Royal Ascot in terms of the actual turnover on Derby finals night for the dogs. So it really is just the biggest thing in dog racing when it comes to a punting aspect. Obviously, you've got the Irish Derby, your side of the pond, but for us over here, obviously we sponsor it and stuff like that, but it's a fantastic event for us. In terms of results now, it went obviously Romeo Magico won the final for David Firminger and Graham Holland. Ben was very happy with the result, not the way that it went money-wise, but because he was friendly with Mr. Holland as he was growing up. So from a sentimental point of view, he was pleased. But if you was to look at the anti-post book, he wouldn't be so pleased. We had 1,000 each way, Savannah, about 100 to 1. That was towards the start of the tournament. That obviously got into the final, so copped the each way part. So we did 25 grand there. Then we laid a total of 2,000 each way, Romeo Magico at 33 to 1. So the money which we won on finals night and all the way up leading up to the final, we managed to do back in just those 3 bets there. So fantastic night for the Greyhound Derby. Thank you all for coming out. Come and say hello to myself and obviously Lofty on the main pitch. People will be looking forward to the Irish Greyhound Derby now. But we had a great night. Unfortunately, we did end up doing our money though, Johnny.
Yeah, check out Simon Knott's recap of the race. Lots of photos as well on the Star Sports website. And it sounded like a hell of a night as well. If you just read Simon Knott's blog on the website, he talks about the Abbott Tribute Act, who we thought were sound checking, but the party was in full swing at 4 p.m. Forget about Abbott, who are actually playing in London tonight. How is this Abbott Tribute Act before the racing?
Well, the speaker was literally right behind where my pitch was. So honestly, my left ear was taking a battering. I'm sure they were fantastic if I wasn't stood right next to the speaker. Because, I was literally, I had to hang around the front of the pitch to hear when Hannah and Steve were calling bets to me. Just I couldn't hear a thing. And even when the tannoy was on during racing. But no, they were very, very good. The only thing was I came home to a party for my brother who was over from Australia. And my mum's a massive ABBA fan. And I kind of left the track having ABBA give me a man after midnight in my head, and I came back and it was blaring in my house. So I was a bit like, oh my god, I can't escape. But no, they were very good. And if you don't want to go for the dogs, then certainly go for the tribute act.
Plenty of men after midnight around Kildare on Saturday. I was at the Derby, went out afterwards. Some buzz around the place. Yeah, I think the crowd was like 11,500 or something like that. I had a great day. I really enjoyed it. Curragh is trying to rebuild itself in many ways. We obviously had a very impressive winner in Westover. It was an interesting race, Flynn, because it was an 8-horse race with 2 horses completely dominating the book. But there were some each way fancies in the race as well. I thought it was fascinating. I actually tried to back Westover and running because I thought after 2 or 3 furlongs, the race was literally going like clockwork, but unfortunately, didn't get matched. Who did get matched though at Star Sports, and how did it go? I mean, presumably you lost in the race.
Of course we did. Westover very well backed. Was week to back in the morning was around 13-8, and Tuesday was the one that was being well backed. And then just before the off, Westover went favourite, going off at 11-8. Actually, joint favourite with Tuesday, 11-8 apiece, and then lovely each way angle to the race. To be honest, if you were playing one each way. But yeah, we ended up losing the race. The most notable bet would have been 10,000 or Westover at 11-8. So not the worst result in the world, but one that you probably want to get beat. Just going to have a look what price Westover is now for the rest of the race for the season, because I'm assuming they're going to probably look at the ledger and then I would imagine onto the arc. So for the ledger, 7-4 favourite. We actually spoke about Westover after the Derby, didn't we? And said that it's probably more of a ledger. So it looks absolutely perfect for the ledger. And then looking at the arc, 13-2 for the arc. I mean, I thought that Westover was valued for that and for the Derby third. I mean, very evident that he got stopped plenty of times. But if you look past the line, Desert Crown stopping and Westover's going through the line there. I understand that he got stopped and hence why he had plenty more in the tank and all that type of stuff. But that disparity in price, 12-5 Desert Crown and 13-2 Hurricane Westover, sorry. There's quite a big disparity there for not much distance in the Derby, and Westover's come out since improving himself. So if he goes on to win the Leisure Westover, I'd imagine he'll be vying for favouritism here in the Odds Triumph, even though Desert Crown has that real sexy style of running, that quick turn of pace puts the race to bed. But Westover looks a grinder, and if he's not too far behind him coming to the 2 furlong pole at Longchamp, I just think he'll mow him down. So Westover, I wouldn't put you off for the Odds Triumph at around 30. In terms of some other races at the Curragh, you obviously saw Statuette be very impressive. Probably one to look out for next year, winning the Group 2 on Sunday, 4-6, very well backed. Another well backed winner of the Rockingham as well, Aino Syra, I think you pronounce it. We laid a bit of 9-1 in the morning and went off half that at 9-2. And then La Petite Coco beat the favourite Maestra in the Pretty Polly. I think Maestra probably is one to take out of the race. It was a big step up in class in Maestra. Willie Haggis bringing the 2 over, obviously, from our side of the pond. But I think Maestra probably is the one to take out of it. But yeah, that was the Curragh. I obviously wasn't at the Curragh. I was at the Greyhound Derby. But just look at the pictures. I know you said it didn't feel very busy and that type of stuff. But it looked hugely more busy. And just from the figures that Neil sent over, because he did stand in the Ben Ring and we did manage to quit over the weekend. Some of the figures were way more encouraging than Guineas weekend. They were kind of incomparable. So, and that's included that you got the Pretty Polly Day on Sunday. So, encouraging stuff. Is it? I mean, I haven't been to loads of Irish tracks, Johnny, but does the crowd at the Curragh in terms of the personnel that go differ to if you went to a Leopardstown, if you went to a Bellewstown, and all that type of stuff?
Yeah, it's hard to say with the Curragh because it seems that a lot of the locals have stopped going to the Curragh, and that's a massive problem. I don't know why that is. The Curragh's had a lot of issues over the years. The Derby used to get about 30,000 not that long ago, so the base is quite low now. But there was a nice mix of a crowd, I thought, on Saturday, and it was very, very enjoyable. It was, the queues weren't bad, but there was an atmosphere there. The betting ring was lively. And it's a really nice place to watch racing now. It's easy to get into the stand, to get a good position. You see the race very well. The horses are near you. I think a lot of the negativity about it pissed me off a bit because you got to go from somewhere. It's had problems. I thought Saturday was definitely a starting point for it in terms of the Derby. It does still have issues in terms of getting people back, but it was a very enjoyable day. And just on Westover for the Arc, be interesting to see if they go. Like, he does have stallion prospects now, whether or not they'll just avoid the ledger altogether for his stallion career, because he could win the Arc. And if he wins the Arc and the Irish Derby, I think he's more of a stallion prospect than winning the ledger. We'll see what happens there. But it was a cracking day out, really, really cracking day out. Some good 2-year-old races as well. And I hope the Curragh builds from here. I really do, because it's still a special race course.
Oh yeah, so do we definitely. It did look like a step forward just from the pictures. I know it's difficult to tell from images; they can be deceiving, but just from the amount of people there and some of the feedback, it did look like a positive step. And I'm sure that if the people that did go have a good experience, and hopefully they'll come back again for the bigger meets. I
Yeah.
guess the next kind of big one at the Curragh would be the Champions Sunday, wouldn't it? Because they did a Saturday at the Leopardstown, then the Sunday over at the Curragh. So I would imagine that's the next big day, and then that's it until next year.
Yeah, we have the Oaks as well, which I think will be a very good race meet. And I think they've something to build on. I feel if you were at the races Saturday, I mean, the I was in Kildare afterwards, but by all accounts, I mean, into Kildare afterwards, a big gamble on a horse that a fella of mine actually owns in Doncaster, and there was everyone in the pub seemed to be on it. Then there was the Gaelic Games was on, and there was just a great
Did it
atmosphere.
win?
It did win. It did win. It won
Oh, of
comfortably,
course it
and
did.
all the family of the relevant jockeys seemed to have backed it, and they were all there. But everyone, I think people really enjoyed it, and Champion Stakes weekend will be interesting because Leopardstown and the Curragh, they're two different experiences. The Curragh is by far the most modern racetrack in Ireland now. Like that's just how it is. I didn't even get the chance to go on the upstairs level or to the owners and trainers, or I kind of stayed in I just stayed on the base level. But I met so many people
Slumming
there.
it.
I had a great time. It's tough. Yeah, I had a great time just meeting people racing. And yeah, hopefully it builds from this. This brings us on to the Eclipse Saturday, though, which, funnily enough, none of these horses obviously ran at the Curragh. Most of them didn't run in the Derby either. But it's a cracking race. Native Trail, who ran at the Curragh in the Guineas, I don't think that form is working out. Albeit, in fairness, the fourth did win at the Curragh at the weekend. I don't think it's a great race. Bay Bridge, who ran a Royal Ascot, Alan Kerr, who was second in the champion, who won the Irish Tattersalls Gold Cup rather, and Vedeni, obviously, who is a Churchill horse, who was winner of the French Derby, has been supplemented. Few other doubts, the likes of Acal, who won one of the maddest drifts ever and won at 20-1 on Saturday. Looks like a very interesting eclipse. What's it like betting wise, though, Flynn?
So Vedeni, I'm not quite sure how you pronounce it. It's 9-4 favourite, obviously coming over. It's owned by the Aga Khan, isn't it, over in France? 9-4. Native Trail's in there at 5-2. Bay Bridge is there at 4-1. Alan Kerr is 13-2. Real World 8-1. Then Mishriff's 9s and 12 bar. That's Stone Age. I say Native Trail's 5-2. We should be under that, so I will be shortening that as soon as we finish filming. We'll probably be around 2-1. We had a very decent bet at 5-2 earlier on. So it would be a huge loser for us, Native Trails, into the six figures. So we won't want Native Trail to be doing the business, and we'll be hoping that your comment about the form line of his runs won't be coming to fruition, and that Vedeni will hopefully be getting the job done, or one of the racks can go and win. So that's how the Coral Eclipse shapes up. We've also got the Coral Charge on site, where Rasel is 3-1 favourite, Mitbahi is 4-1, Equilateral, one of the old timers now, 11-2, and then your 6-1 bar there. So we've got a decent weekend of racing to look forward to. Interesting conversation you mentioned just about dropping the Irish Derby back. Why are they talking about doing that? What's the reasoning behind it?
Because the Derby itself has become, I mean, if Tuesday hadn't been supplemented, let's be honest, it was a shocker of a Derby, really, if Tuesday weren't supplemented. She was actually a bit of an irrelevance in the race itself. Which is that's for another day, but it's just we haven't had an English trained winner of the Epsom Derby running in the Curragh Derby since I think 2004 or something like that. The French obviously essentially aren't coming over anymore, or rarely coming over, because of the French Derby, and maybe because of timing and all that. And I did a podcast last week, and Brendan Duke was saying if you move the Curragh back to 10 furlongs, you could have a triple crown of the Guineas, the Epsom Derby, and the Irish Derby, which I think is an interesting concept. But it's just, for whatever reason, with Aidan O'Brien's dominance of the race or whatever, the Irish Derby has definitely lost his place in the pecking order in terms of worldwide races. It's gone well down the rankings, and the Curragh is a great racetrack. So I don't know what the Irish Derby itself can do anymore, because it's a fair racetrack. It's a lovely place to go racing. Prize money is good. It's easier race to win than Epsom. Maybe things will change now with the Galileo kind of influence is going to wane for Aidan O'Brien, but 10 furlongs is definitely an interesting concept, because it's more attractive to a stallion as well. The one thing is, we don't have a 10 furlong Group 1 for 3-year-olds only in Ireland or Britain, but we do have the Eclipse like a week later over 10 furlongs. So it's an interesting one for me.
Yeah, I don't think that the distance is the issue, really. Surely it's just the timing. It's in a bit of no man's land, isn't it? The fact that it comes after, I mean, everybody primes their horses either for the Derby via the Guineas or after that to go to Royal Ascot. And then once that's all done, you're in a bit of no man's land there. And then they probably go to the Irish Derby as a bit of an afterthought. I mean, Westover obviously wasn't being trained for the Irish Derby; he was trained for the Derby. And then because he didn't win that race, it was a fantastic opportunity to go and nick a Group 1 over your side of the pond. But I don't think it's the distance that is the issue. I understand they're trying to bring the distance back to attract more horses and better quality, but you are just kind of diluting the class of the race, I think, because a Derby is a Derby, and the Derby should be a mile and a half. I don't like the fact that they're trying to reduce that, but I think timing is probably. I'm not sure where else they could fit it, but I think timing is the main reason why it's probably a bit of an afterthought as opposed to the distance anyway.
Yeah, like just reading Brian Cavan in the Irish Times today, he's talking about trying to get that international element over, because like Monjou winning the race, Dalakani second in the race, they were great days, and there are sort of, maybe a myriad of reasons, but I think in fairness to, I think Brian Cavan will try to, he'll definitely try to make the race as glamorous as possible going forward. But maybe I'll see you, Flynn, Champion Stakes weekend and get your thoughts on it, because I think it'll be a better experience than it was when you were there for the Guineas, and it was a lot better. It was just a fun day for me anyway. I backed a couple of winners. That notwithstanding, though, it was a good day. There was a good vibe around the place, and there weren't horrible queues. Which, I mean, there've been massive problems in Ireland with getting caterers and all that since COVID. So, lots of positives. So let's end up in Wimbledon, though. Last weekend I was talking to Rishi Prasad, and he went from talking to me to going to Wimbledon, which I think he's going to be working there for the week. Is it a big betting heat?
It's always a very good betting heat. The ticker this morning, where all the bets come through, has been very, very, very lively. Especially with outright markets, with quarter winners. Obviously, a lot of these we trading in play at the moment, so they're fast moving. But we'll give you a very quick show for the men's first. Novak Djokovic is 5-6 favourite. I think he was about 4-5 this morning, so drifted ever so slightly. Berrettini is 11-2. He was 5-1 this morning. Rafa Nadal's in there at 7. Alissiem is 14. Alcaraz is 16. Hurkacz 16, and you're 25-1 bar. And then I will just get the women's up. Let me just try and find where we've got the women's here. It's almost as popular as the men's bet now in terms of the outright for Wimbledon. Swiatek is your favourite there at 6-4. Jabeur has been very popular in there at 6-1, was 8-1 previously. I'm assuming that's Corey Gaff is 12-1. Kvitova is 12-1. Halep 14. Ostapenko, who loves it on the grass, is 16, and then you're 18-1 bar. So that's how we shape up in terms of Wimbledon. The book, what do the books look like for the outrights for the men? We have got 6 losers: Cameron Norrie, Bautista Agut, Nick Kyrgios from Australia, Novak Djokovic would be our 4th smallest loser. Andy Murray's in there, and Catch is in there. And then the field would win. So Rafael Nadal would be a nice result. Hurkacz would be a nice result. And any of those around the head of the market that aren't the ones I've just mentioned. And then for the women's, we do have a few more losers. Xu Zhang is our biggest loser in there. Alison Risk, who's a big price. Haddad Maya. Jabeur, the one that I said did well back from 8 to 6s. And Swiatek would be a small loser as well. So we need a bit of a turn up for the books. Obviously, a lot of the chat is going to be about Raducanu. When we look forward towards tennis, I believe she's actually playing later on today. We've got lots of specials and lots of offers as well. So in the Wimbledon men's, if you back a player, and if he fails to win from 2 sets up, then we'll pay you out as a winner. We do have lots of other specials and offers going on Wimbledon. So do just check the carousel across the top of the website, or just dive into tennis and you'll see it all in there. But we're going to trade the outrights in place, and we'll have all those up. And then obviously lots of offers get stuck into as well. So we're in a bit of a weird time sports-wise at the moment, aren't we? With no national football tournament going on in the summer. Obviously, the World Cup's in the winter, so it's all about Wimbledon. A bit of Tour de France starts soon. We've obviously had the cricket on previously, and then we're kind of going weekend to weekend with race now, as opposed to the big festivals. The next big one would be Goodwood for us. The focus will be on the tennis, and we'll probably be away from racing and football for a little bit, which is a bit of a weird place to be, but that's just how the calendar is.
That's how the calendar is, and congratulations to anyone who was involved in the winner of the Star Sports Greyhound Derby, or back to winner, or cop that money each way at 100 to 1 at the start. Lovely to see an anti-post bet come good and get to the final. It's beautiful. I do love having a bet in the Derby, because you're just hoping to creep into the next round, and the Irish Derby upcoming as well. One of the sporting highlights of the year. Generally tends to the final tends to be on the same day as the Irish Champion Stakes. Can be. We've done that double, Flynn. We've soldiered hard. Go to Leopardstown and then straight over to the Dogs at Shelbourne Park. And I tell you, you can wake up the next morning far from sure whether you'd lost or won money on the day, but certainly sure you had a good day and a good night anyway.
Oh yeah, no, I bet. I've been to Shelbourne once actually with the Mulvaneys after working one day at the Curragh, and me and Jack Rogers were having a good time there whilst he was working for Seamus and stuff. So great to go over and experience it, and I'm sure that there'll be plenty of people visiting and going to both tracks, and I wish them all well.
Absolutely. We'll be back next week with Trader Chat. Enjoy Wimbledon if you're watching, and hope you enjoyed that. Talk to you next week.